Okay, so today we are going to discuss about 5 most important functions a beginner needs to know to start using Excel efficiently. Okay, so the first function that we have here is the sum. Okay, so stick with me because I'm sure you're going to enjoy this video and you're going to learn something out of this video. Okay, so the first function, that is the sum. So what is the sum? So sum is addition of few values. So you can have, say, you have three values, d4, d5 and d7. So you put them in the sum function and you get it. It's simple, but always it's not going to be so simple, right? So you might be having an Excel which is having a huge number of records, right? So what do you do in that place? So you have to use a range. So you have to give d4 to d8. So this is how you give the range. So don't worry about the syntax or formula, guys, because I'm going to have another video where I'm going to discuss about the syntax specifically. So concentrate right now only on how to use these simple functions. Okay, the other way of using the sum function is when you mix both of these, because it's not always that you're going to have a simple range, or it's not always that you're going to have some few numbers that you want to add, right? So you need to have a method of using these. So this is what the sum function in Excel gives us. So you can have only d4, d5, and then you can have a range, like say from f4 to f6. So having said that, the next function that we have is the count. So what is the count? So count is you are basically finding the number of values that you are actually having. Okay, so in count, again, you're going to find it by using a range. So here also d4 to d8 will give you the count. The average, the next function that we have here, is again sum divided by the count. Okay, but that's the very elementary way of doing it, and there is a much more smarter way of doing it. And Excel gives us the average function, wherein you just provide the range and you will be able to get the average. One tip I want to give here is all these three functions, they ignore the blank and the text in the selected range. And if you're not understanding what I'm saying here, don't worry, because I'm going to step in to an example wherein you will understand much more better. So stick with me. The other function that we have here is the max. That is the fourth function that we're going to talk about. What is max? Max is, it returns the maximum in a given set. So if you have the set from d4 to d9, so it will give you the maximum out of it. And the last function that we have here is minimum, and that is min. So min will again return you the minimum out of that particular set. So enough of these theories. So let's go into a practical Excel sheet workbook and see how all these functions can be used. So this is the example wherein I'm going to show you how to use those functions that we actually discussed. Okay, so what I have here is, say, 5 books. Okay, and then I have some quantities here. So for example, the power of your subconscious mind, I have 6 quantities. The monk whose soul is Ferrari, you have 7 quantities. In this way, you have all these different numbers and the quantities, and for each of them I have a price for, say, different sites, say maybe site 1, site 2 and site 3. Maybe, like, say, for your business is having in Amazon, right? So you are a seller, like, say, in Amazon, also in Flipkart and maybe in Snapdeal, right? And you are selling books, right? So you have site 1, site 2 and site 3, wherein you have different prices given there, right? So let's take this example and let's see how we can use the functions. So it would be sum d4 to d9. So you get the value here. Okay, now as I said, this is the range that we were discussing about the method 2 in sum, right? And there's another way of doing it. So if you want to find the sum of say all the range here from say D4 to D9, and also maybe you want sum from these, right? So how would you do that? I want to use the method 3 in sum that I showed, right? So you have a range D4 to D9, and then you want to select say specific values. So how would you do that? So once you have written D4 to D9, you give a comma, and then you just click on E4, right? And then you press the shift button, and then you click the other number. So that is the say E5, right? So you can give a comma here and then E5, right? I forgot to give the comma. Okay, so once you are here, you press the tab, and there you go. So you get the total value. So you selected this range for the sum D4 to D9, and now you want to use you want to have say for site 2 you want to also add the values for say the power of subconscious mind and monk who sold his Ferrari. And how would you do that? You have to use the method 3 that I discussed. So you give a comma here after D9, and then you select E4, and then you press the shift button. Before that you have to give a comma, and then press the shift button, and then click the next cell. Okay, so it gives E4 and E5, right? And then after that you give a tab here, and there you go, you get the total value. So if you double click it, Excel will give you the entire formula that it has given here. So sum D4 to D9, that is the range, and then with the color, this is with blue, so it highlights with blue, and it's given the writing also here in blue, and then E4, that is in red, and then this is in purple, E5, right? And then press the tab button and you get it. So this is how you can use the range as well as specific values for sum. What is the count? So count would be, again, double click it, equal to count bracket, and then these are the counts of total number, right? So you want from here till colon here, and then close the bracket. It gives you 6, right? And if you remember, I gave you a tip. What was the tip? The tip was that for count or sums, it actually ignores the text and blanks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to give you a little tweak. So I'm going to drag this, and I'm going to include the text here that I have. Okay, so I'm going to have my selection from B4 till C9. Okay, and let's see what happens. See, it gives you 6, so it doesn't include these text, so it ignores this text. Okay, so for average, it's going to be equal to average bracket and then numbers. So that's from here D4 to D9. So this is the average 195.50, and if you divide 1309 by 6, you would get 195.5. Okay, so that's how the average is. And for the highest price, so it's the maximum, it gives you the maximum out of a given range. So it will be equal to, then you give max, and then opening bracket, and it depends what you want to do. So if you want to find the maximum out of this given quantities, then you have to give C4 colon C9, and then close the bracket. So it gives you 11, and yes, 11 is truly the highest, right? But here you have the highest price. I have given it the highest price, so it would be basically let's say for site 1, so it would be, instead of C, it would be D. Okay, and then instead of C9, it would be D9, and then click tab here, so you get 299. So let's see if it is 299 is the correct. Yes, of course, 299 is the highest price that we have. And for the lowest price, it would be equal to, again, it's the same thing, it's just Instead of max, it would be min. So min, and the range would be from D4 to D9. There you go. So here is how you would find a total average count, maximum and minimum. Okay, now what if like I want to have a total set of range? Okay, so here in the sum, okay, so let's see. I mean, if you want to use instead of these two values, I want the entire range. I want to know what's the total price, okay, the entire sum of all the three sides. So it would be, you just have to drag it from here till the entire range. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, instead of that comma, so from D4 to D9, what you do is you have this arrow here, right? So you just press it and you take it to the right and you take the entire range. Okay, now with this range, I'm also going to take some blank values. So I'm going to include the row 10. Okay, so I'm going to take it till F10. So my range starts from D4 and goes till F10, and then I give the closing bracket. Okay, so it gives the entire range actually. So if you click on this, it takes the entire range, and it will ignore the blanks that I said. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bonus tip as I promised at the start of the video, and that is for everyday purpose. So if you are using Excel every day, and if this is a worksheet that you have to open every day, and you are somebody who is very forgetful of putting the date, so how would you do it? Instead of putting the date every day, so there is a way of doing it. So in Excel, what it gives us is a function that is called equal to today, and then you can just have the brackets and then press tab. See what happens. You get the date. So like say today it is 25th of January 2020, and it gives me the date. Okay, now Excel recommends that you have to put this thing in E1 cell, and then you press the save button, and if you close it and then if you reopen it the next day, it should refresh to the next day. So I hope guys you have learned how to use these functions, and with the bonus tip that I've given, which actually helps you in your day-to-day usage. In case if you have liked my video and you really learned something out of it, I would suggest that you comment below how you are using these functions in your daily usage. I hope you have learned something out of these functions that I have discussed, and let me know in the comments below how you are using these functions, and also if there is something else that you would like to know, that you are curious to know, I will definitely try to make a video out of that.